Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co-author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Min Kim. Min is the SVP of Marketing and Business Development and the host of Around the Coin podcast. Please join me to give a warm welcome to Min Kim. Min, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time together. Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with? That inspired you to get into this Helio lending, like Bitcoin-based lending, blockchain-based lending.
Yeah, so I grew up in Palo Alto, and after college, I worked for Tim Draper, who is a very big Bitcoin believer, and that's how I got exposed to crypto and Bitcoin. And I got into crypto lending because centralized finance and DeFi were two big trends that I was very interested in. And I worked previously as head of marketing and BD for another centralized finance company. So that's how I got connected to Helio. And Helio is very interesting because we don't have our own capital markets team. We're more of like an entry point for especially Australian high net worths or Australian institutions to be exposed to 7 different loan providers that we've sourced from the Americas and also from Asia. So it's a really interesting take on things. And Australia is a really interesting demographic. They're very open to buying things online. It's one of the biggest e-commerce markets. So I think that I'm really just interested in building a niche and a really big brand name in a small market and really saturating that market. So that's what I plan to do at Helio Lending currently.
Wonderful. Wonderful. This is very unique. I never have interviewed someone. You are the first one. I'm publicly acknowledging you on anything to do with the lending, Bitcoin based, basically. That's what I'm saying. Like a cryptocurrency based. You are the first one I'm interviewing. So
great.
Yeah. So while you are in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, you are working for Australian companies to generate a lead for them.
Mm-hmm.
So they do the Bitcoin based lending.
Yes, Bitcoin-based
lending.
Okay,
so is that, I'm just to educate myself, is that also in US available, or that's in US like a cryptocurrency based lending is not available?
Yeah, so it's also definitely available in the US as well. But since it's one of the largest Australian fintech companies around crypto, that's where we get a lot of our retail customers.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. How hard is to get leads for this? People are interested in that because I think the awareness is a big part of it. So you are a marketing person. How you are actually producing leads for them? Not like I'm not asking you to give us a trade secret. Like how you're creating an awareness and at the same time generating leads for them.
Definitely, yeah. So we have a content strategy, and we have 2 content writers on staff, right? And they're publishing 3 to 5 blog posts a week that we push out. And we also do a lot of kind of paid press releases or more like research related writing. And on like the conversion side, we do a lot of email marketing, and we're working with a company that's also helping us think through some of the strategy. And they also help with retargeting through ad roll and LinkedIn marketing and Facebook marketing. So we're kind of hitting all angles. But it is a very competitive space out there. And so it does help that we are one of the largest players in Australia, just to kind of focus on that niche where there's already been a lot of history in terms of the time we've been around, right? And our website has been up and just kind of like being promoted to that customer segment. So that's why we're focused on Australia, but obviously we want to grow our customer base to SF and to Asia and all that jazz. But at the same time, it's easier to just continue to focus on a small segment in order to saturate a market and build brand awareness, in my opinion. So that's why I'm extremely interested in Australia.
Wonderful. Who is your ideal client who need the lending for a cryptocurrency base?
Yeah, so I think our ideal client is someone who is potentially looking for a loan for a house or trying to kind of avoid the capital gains tax around like April when tax season comes in and wants to kind of do a crypto collateralized loan at like maybe even a 1 to 4% APR instead of actually like selling their crypto and getting a 40% hit on that, right? There's a huge tax savings around that. So it's either like a high net worth or an institution that wants to have some sort of over collateralized loan in order to lever up. We also do under collateralized loans too for institutions that have a great trading track record. So for those guys, definitely willing to talk to them as well. So I would say it's institutions and then these high net worths, and also thirdly, people who've raised a lot of money through ICOs, right, who want to kind of diversify their treasury into interest-bearing stablecoins, or also want to just kind of convert the Bitcoin that they raised into cash in order to pay their employees and support some sort of operating expense. So these are kind of things that we're using the loans for on the customer side. And so that's kind of like the customer journey, and that's why these loans are something that are in demand right now.
Let's say I want to buy my next home, small home, a few $100,000. Can I get it a loan from your source from based in Australia and a cryptocurrency base? What's the risk versus compared to the getting like a federal dollar?
Yeah. So yes, you could, exactly. So if you have kind of like a smaller loan amount and also you don't really meet the requirements around being a accredited investor, then we could bring you into like 3 of our loan providers. But if you want to buy like a mansion or like you have kind of like a higher income bracket, then we're able to give you access to all of our loan providers. So it's 7 of them. And obviously with like a larger loan amount, there are definitely like things that you can negotiate around the APR, around loan terms, around like the frequency of the interest payments and whether there's an origination fee. So a lot of that is definitely more customizable as you get to the higher end of the market.
What's the higher end of the market? Like $1 million plus or like a 10 million, 20 million? What's the range?
Yeah. I think $1 million plus is a really good benchmark. And for accreditation for the US, it's like $1 million assets, or you make $200K worth of salary 2 years in a row. But in other regions, it can be up to like 5 million in net worth as the minimum. So it really depends on the region you're in.
Okay. So what are the top 3 mistakes to avoid when you're dealing with a cryptocurrency based lender?
Yeah, the top 3 mistakes. I think oh my gosh, there's so many.
Top 3.
Yeah,
so we can learn
the top 3. Yeah, I think you definitely want to understand whether there's an origination fee, right? And that's kind of like the main thing, because you'll be quoted an APR, but if there's an origination fee, then obviously your APR is higher when you bake in the origination cost. So you kind of want to understand the hidden costs when you proceed. And then I think secondly, just being able to size up, right? Like how many people work for this loan shop, like how many years have they been in operation for? It's really important, right? We have loan providers that have really great promotions, but are only like 10 people, but worked at Goldman Sachs, right? And then we have loan providers that are 150 people, right? So it's definitely like different sizes, and because that they have different specialties and different flexibilities, right? And I think the third thing is just understanding which of the loan options will let you keep your collateral in cold storage versus having that collateral be rehypothecated and traded. I think a lot of people do want to offer crypto loans, right? Because they want to take that collateral and then, trade it, put it into a quant hedge fund, and these are all really risky. But there are loan options where they don't do that. They don't rehypothecate that, and they just let you keep your collateral in cold storage for the duration of the loan. So just understanding what's happening with your collateral during the loan is really important. And it also is kind of a way for you to understand the risk related to your loan as well.
Thank you. That will save so many of people who potentially will try through this. So in this cryptocurrency-based lending, do you mind sharing your greatest failure in this? What did you learn and how did you recover from that? Because you have seen so much going on in this because it's so much fluctuation.
100%. Yeah, you know what? I worked at a previous company, Cred, and they did have some big write-offs, right? And they did file for bankruptcy. And it's a really interesting lesson because with a crypto loan, right, like portfolio, you definitely want to diversify into various avenues, right? And you want to do a credit risk. And if you're doing an under collateralized loan, then you want to make sure that obviously you're not putting all of your eggs in one basket. And that was a problem at Cred. They had a huge portion of that loan portfolio into one startup that was $1 billion startup, right? But had a lot of exposure to, certain geographies that were hit hard during COVID, and COVID was something that people just, couldn't really have expected in terms of this huge pandemic. But it did have some after effects that really affected the loan portfolio as a whole. And we were not well diversified in that. So I would say that for anyone wanting to go into crypto lending, it could be very profitable, but like hire consultants who are in traditional venture lending, right? Square One Bank, Silicon Valley Bank, they all have credit risk officers, and they all have different formulas around how they assess the credit risk of any company and startup, right? And I actually started in one of those companies. My first job was actually at RBC and their venture lending group. So I was kind of that analyst doing a lot of that credit risk assessment, right? And I think with crypto, there's a lot of confidence around, hey, like, oh, we worked at PayPal, we worked at Goldman, we definitely know what we're doing. But venture lending for startups is a very niche industry. And so even if you worked at Goldman and PayPal, you probably can still learn from the specialists in the space, such as like a Square One or a Silicon Valley Bank. So I would say have some consultants that work in the traditional finance sector who are kind of leaders in the industry, and maybe just talk to them. Even you can incentivize them through equity or through tokens or through like a cash retainer, but make sure that they're able to kind of explain to you some of the operational structures around credit assessment, right? And that'll definitely save you a lot of headache in the long term.
Yeah.
So that would be some of my advice.
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you. And I appreciate very much.
Definitely.
So let's take this side on the success side. So what are the top 3 success traits of cryptocurrency-based lending?
Yeah, I think some of the top successes were my ability to execute on some wallet-based partnerships. So I signed MOUs and partnership agreements with Fluby Wallet and BitPi Wallet, which is one of the largest Bitcoin wallets out of China. Excuse background noise. So there, it's just around kind of pointing out, right, like a revenue share structure that is meaningful to such a large player, and then making sure that your terms are maybe like 5 to 10% better, or like they're projected to get more revenue from working with you versus the other competitors, right? And for us, right, at Cred, we were definitely not the largest player in the space, but we just had better commercial terms, and that's how we were able to win a lot of these big contracts, right? So in the end, I think that exposure and that PR around landing the big contracts landed us more big contracts. So I think this whole crossing the chasm thing, it definitely works, right? And like, okay, you might not be getting the best commercial terms, but at the same time, it's all part of the marketing cost. And signing a big partnership, right, it can actually save you money on doing direct marketing or digital, like related stuff, social media marketing, events. All that budget could just go into doing commercial terms that are less favorable with a larger partner that will bring you more inbound leads. So I think like, like that kind of mindset really drove a lot of success and helped me align with a lot of the best and biggest companies in crypto. And yeah, I think so. So definitely just like thinking long term rather than short term around your strategic alliances is always something that has served me well when I structure these deals around revenue share with other partners.
Wonderful. This is good. So, how big is your portfolio in terms of like lead generations for that one? So, in terms of you generate thousands of leads a month, or you like a few hundred leads a month, or like a few leads a month, or like how that every month portfolio lead generation works for you?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of our work as a startup, and I think for most startups, it's mostly outbound, right? Like there's not a lot of inbound. I think inbound will get maybe on the scale of like 100 per month, right? But a lot of it is this outbound effort. So yeah, it's just the beauty of being a startup. I think in crypto, when I worked for like the largest companies like Tron or Huobi, right? These are companies with like 300 to 500 employees. It was all inbound for sure, right? Like a lot of the customers, a lot of the partnership requests were all inbound. But Helio Lending is currently like, it's a small startup, so we don't really rely too much on the inbound funnel.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. How the growth hacking secrets community people are watching this now can support you?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to get on the call with anyone who has good growth hacking secrets. Like personal, that's how you got in touch with me. And so add me on LinkedIn. My username is MINKIMD14. Add me on Twitter. Right now, Clubhouse has also been a really great way for me to connect with people.
Yeah,
I think
connect,
Clubhouse starting to room.
yeah, connect with me on a Clubhouse. Meet Siddique. It's on your screen right now. So,
Would love to,
okay.
definitely. Yeah. So I think those are some avenues that I'd love to connect with your audience and kind of continue the conversation.
Wonderful, wonderful. As we are about to wrap up, what would you say about your today's guest experience on a Growth Hacking Secret show?
My guest experience, it's been great. Thank you for having me. I really enjoy these types of opportunities, and I hope that's anything that I shared today was helpful to your audience. And in the end, yeah, it's all about providing value, right? And that's the biggest providing value, and then having a personal brand will be the ultimate lead generation, success secret.
Yeah,
Personal brand or company brand. So definitely just continue to invest in all future growth hackers and their success as well by spending time with people. So definitely ping me at min at heliolending.com. Happy to set up a call.
thank you so much, Min, for really appreciate it. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.
Thanks so much for having me.